Hi everybody, I'm Zilla Blitz and welcome to episode 6, our final episode in our series with Save South Vietnam, the Fortress Games war game where you take on the role of the US and South Vietnamese forces over the entire span of the Vietnam War. Now it's the start of 1975 and the entire North Vietnamese army is in South Vietnam. This is the biggest offensive of the war, and in order for us to win the war, we have to fight off and defend for our lives against these 25 North Vietnamese army brigades. We've got 2.5 years to go. Let's jump in and see if we can hang on for the win. So before we jump into these desperate last 2.5 years, let's do just a quick overview and recap of our current situation. Again, the color test, yellow and green are good, red and orange are bad. Based on that, we're in a lot of trouble, right? But let's take a look at each one of our individual areas. So here we are, the southern part of South Vietnam with the all-important Saigon, because if Saigon falls, we lose the game. We've got 2 North Vietnamese Army brigades up here in the remote lands. And just a reminder that because Quang Tri in the northern part of the country has fallen, automatically starting this next season, we're going to see a political cadre in a North Vietnamese Army brigade move from Quang Tri and appear here. They don't come here one province at a time. They automatically appear in Saigon. So we're going to have to fight them off starting this current year. It's not going to be a long, slow march for them. So we have to be ready for that as well. If we look at the central part of the country, we have quite an array of North Vietnamese Army brigades in the remote lands ready to start infiltrating into these populated areas in these middle 3 provinces. We have some military capacity down here, but our biggest issue, if there's 3 of these, there's about a 40% chance one's going to drop down. If there's 4, it's over a 50% chance. So all across the country, we can expect to probably see, if we're lucky, 2 or less. Probably kind of average luck would be 3 total of these North Vietnamese Army brigades drop down. And the equation we're faced with is that only 5 of our provinces can recover our military capacity, can replenish a strength point to a brigade. So we can absorb 5 hit points, if you would, of damage to our military across the country and keep recovering it. Anything greater than that, and we're getting worn down and our military capacity degrades each season. So somehow we have to be able to absorb all of these brigades as they start to drop down and maintain our capacity. I don't think we're going to be able to do that. I think by the middle point of this year, we're probably going to be beaten up more than we're able to recover. So somehow we have to figure out how can we absorb as much of this as possible for as long as we can. Because the good thing about this is, in the next 2 years, very few North Vietnamese Army brigades and very few political cadres are going to reappear. So once we start knocking these out, they're probably going to be gone forever. Because I think next year there's probably only going to be 2 or 3 that come as reinforcements. So that's our one positive hope, is that the damage we do is probably going to be lasting damage to the North Vietnamese Army. Central part of the country, again, considerable mess. Quang Tri, of course, has fallen. So over the next 6 seasons, we're going to see one of these North Vietnamese Army brigades appear in Saigon. These 2 political cadres will move to Saigon one by one, and then this will eventually become 10, the maximum of Viet Cong forces. They will stay here. So we've lost Quang Tri. I don't think we'll ever be able to get it back in this conflict, and this is the force we're going to be fighting against in Saigon. So that's hopeless. I'd love to be able to hold on to Hue and Da Nang as long as we can. The tricky part, again, is getting forces up here because it takes a while for them to march up from the middle of South Vietnam. So we're going to try to hold as long as we can. I fear if we lose these provinces, getting doubled up in Saigon is going to be really hard for us to hang on. So I'm going to play ahead 6 months now, and we'll see how the country looks. We're going to be offensive only in one spot. We have some extra capacity up in the north. I'm going to try to take out these North Vietnamese Army brigades in the remote highlands of Saigon. And every place else, I wish we had the ability to go on the offensive, but we are just going to try to protect the populated areas as best we can, because we can't afford to. We can't take on this strength of formation. The damage it would do to us is pretty significant if we tried to take them on in force. So yeah, we'll hang on. We'll see in 6 months. Let's see what it looks like. July 1975, we're getting beat down, but we're bending, but we haven't broken yet, might be the best way to sum it up. A lot of exciting things that have happened. Quang Tri has officially fallen, and we're seeing combat in the populated area of Saigon. Let's go take a look at each area and talk about the overall picture as we do. So in Saigon, our initial offensive in the first season, in the kind of the spring of 1975, we were able to go up and take up these North Vietnamese Army brigades, which is good because that means we're getting one at a time. That's coming from Quang Tri into the populated here area in Saigon, and we've been able to hold off there. We haven't seen this brigade. We've been very, very lucky with the amount and way that the North Vietnamese Army brigades have moved on our populated areas across the country. This last season, we've just had 2 infiltrate into Bien Hoa, which is good because this is the only place they came down, and I think we can handle it. So what I was afraid of is that we were going to have a lot of these North Vietnamese Army brigades drop down in one season and overwhelm us. But in both of the 2 seasons, we've had 2 brigades drop down in the same place, which is, I mean, we're losing strength faster than we can replenish it, but we'll talk about a little bit of the good thing here, that we've been able to take out 6 North Vietnamese Army brigades across the country. And these are brigades that they're at most probably going to replenish 2 or 3 next year. So as they're wearing down our capacity, we're starting to wear down their capacity. So the question, I think, is which goes down faster and which runs out of strength first. But we're bending and losing ground, but they're losing strength too. So how it all fleshes out, I'm not sure. To iterate the point here, we had 2 North Vietnamese Army brigades come down this past season. There was a major battle here in Quy Nhon. We suffered heavy casualties, but we were able to take out the 2 brigades that did come down into the populated area. So again, we wore them down with strength that they're not going to replenish. They wore us down with strength that we can't replenish as fast as they're wearing it down. So where it all ends up, I'm not quite sure. But so far, again, we're bending but not breaking. Here we've been able to maintain, we did fly in our special forces, our Marines and our airborne. Well, I guess, again, the Marines probably came in by sea to kind of help this because we had nothing else to shore this up in the last season. But we've done okay to hold on here. Nothing has dropped down. They're just camping up here for right now. Likewise, these brigades camping up here for right now. So we've been fortunate there. And again, the fewer brigades that are up here, the less likely they are to drop down. So because now instead of having 4, they're down to 2, each season it gets a little bit less likely that we're going to see infiltration down into the populated areas. So those signs are good, but again, our force has been weakened. Let's take a look at the north. Here we have the official fallen marker on Quang Tri. They've already sent all of their political cadres and their 2 of their North Vietnamese Army brigades into Saigon. We've eliminated one of them. One of them will fight this upcoming season. And now Saigon's political situation has deteriorated a little bit. This will eventually turn to, they'll have 10 Viet Cong here, which is the maximum, and then these will trickle over into Saigon, leaving this pretty much completely under the control of Viet Cong forces. We've been able to hang on. Hue, our forces have fought very well, suffering actually no casualties in taking out the Viet Cong that have been infiltrating this region. If these drop down, it's a problem. So this is kind of an area of concern because we don't really have the strength to deal with 2 of these at once. So far we've been really lucky here. Down here in Da Nang, we had some luck with political cadres. Both times in both seasons, we've been able to reduce the political cadres here, kind of taking the temperature off this region a little bit, which gives us a little bit of breathing room to delay. So if we were to lose control of this one, it would just take longer for it to fall. So that was a kind of a significant effect there that we were able to kind of take out some, it's just luck, right, for this. It's a roll you make each season, but we're able to eliminate 2 political cadres in Da Nang for the first time in a long time. The North Vietnamese and the Vietnamese strength in Da Nang has weakened a little bit. We still have that simpering insurgency that we have to kind of keep some forces in here to maintain, but so far so good. As we head into the back half of 1975 then, yeah, so far so good. I mean, all it would take though would be just a little bit of a twist of fate to see, say 5 of these North Vietnamese Army brigades drop down in one season and kind of overwhelm our defenses in one province, and then we've got a huge problem. So we are not out of the woods yet, but I think these past 6 months have gone about as well as we could hope for. I'm going to play ahead now 6 more months to get to the end of 1975, and we'll see what the situation looks like. January 1976, we've finished the end of 1975, and I've brought the political cadres in and the North Vietnamese Army reinforcements in at the end of the year as we set up with a year and a half left to go. We got fortunate with the reinforcements of North Vietnamese Army brigades, only 2. Unfortunately, we got the maximum number of political cadres, 6, which means that of the whole force pool, there's only 1 that's not on the map. It's interesting. Let's take a look. I have no idea how this is going to turn out in the last year and a half. In the last season, we've had three North Vietnamese Army brigades drop down in three different regions, one here in Mekong. I don't think we're going to have enough strength to fight in Saigon as well as here, so I think we're going to let our police force take a beating here. Mekong is strong enough to be able to do that for a season or two, and then hopefully we'll have some breathing space to be able to take care of this unit, because we just don't have the capacity to divert here right now, as we'll see in some of these other areas. Saigon has now got all of the political cadres in from Quang Tri, as well as they just had another one or two arrive here in the winter season. The fortunate thing is that the Saigon police force is very strong. So even as we'll see, we're going to get more political cadres in here. So just a hotbed of Viet Cong insurgency. But our police force is strong enough that I think we can sustain it, because our police force, as we can see up here right now, is a 7. That gives us 14 political points minus 8, which still leaves us at a positive 6. And our police force is going to get stronger as these cadres come in. So I think because our Saigon police force is so strong, we can actually handle this massive insurgency here. But we're still going to have troops in here fighting off these North Vietnamese Army brigades that come in. Bien Hoa, pretty stable with these. This one has stayed up in the remote areas as for now. But the other thing I want to point out is you can see we have our force is getting depleted. We're getting beaten up here. I've run out of these markers to mark when a South Vietnamese Army brigade is completely depleted. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of our units completely depleted here. So we're replenishing them as fast as we can, but they're getting knocked out a little bit faster. Here is our problem though, the central area, specifically Quang Nai. They had a number of, I think they had 2 more political cadres come in, putting this at minus 10. And the more political cadres that are here, the more Viet Cong come in, and we had a North Vietnamese Army brigade. This is on the brink of falling. We need to bring in as much force as we can to this area to try to take out all of these troops in one shot and balance out the political situation here so that the North Vietnamese Army brigades don't spawn faster than we can handle them. I did run special forces to try to knock out some of these political cadres. They both failed. We only have 2 now. Normally every season you have 3 special forces missions and you make a die roll to see if you remove one of these political cadres. But when you lose a province, you lose one of those missions. So we're down to 2 and they both failed. So fortunately, nothing going on here in these other 2 provinces, but another North Vietnamese Army brigade appeared here. Because there's 4, it's very likely we're going to see 1 or 2 drop down very shortly here, creating another problem for us in the central part of South Vietnam. In the north, Quang Tri is what it is. They did get it. One of their 2 North Vietnamese Army brigades came in here, so that will keep up that kind of stream of pressure on Saigon, because each season, so almost every season for this year, we're going to see more brigades coming into Saigon. The good thing is that there are 25 total brigades in the force pool for the North Vietnamese Army. And we had all 25 in South Vietnam at the beginning of last year. Last year we knocked out 10, they reinforced 2, so we're down to 17. So we have weakened substantially the North Vietnamese Army. If we can survive this next year and do like an equal amount of damage, I think we'll be okay. But it's still very much up in the air, especially if Quang Nai were to fall over here. That would be a big problem for Saigon. Hue has had a North Vietnamese Army brigade drop down. We could do our best that we can to take it out. I don't know. We'll probably have to fly in some of our our Marines or airborne here. Here, Da Nang is, fortunately, because they've lost those political cadres, has given us just a fraction of breathing room. We don't have to concentrate too hyperactively on this one. But yeah, Hue and Quang Nai here are causing us a lot of problems. So we'll head further into 1976. We've got 6 seasons left to survive. Let's fight ahead 6 months here and see how things look. July 1976, we're still here. Let's take a look at the individual provinces. It's so interesting to see how the pressure has shifted over the course of these past 6 months. Up in the north, we did have to let that North Vietnamese Army brigade, our police, hold up against them, but they were able to hold up one season. We shifted some forces up here in the past season, big battle. We were able to take them out. So we've now removed the North Vietnamese Army brigades from Mekong, which should help going forward. But we did suffer casualties. Saigon, again, we're still getting insurgency. The good thing is the forces coming in from Quang Tri are now forces that are B-52 damaged a long time ago. So they're only at 1 strength point, and they've only got this season and next season we're going to see them come in. So if we can hold our other provinces, the fighting in Saigon should taper off in the next few months, which would be good because we've got a ton of political cadres up here, but our police force is strong. It's at level 9, which gives us 18 political points, so we can still stay in the positive and function. Saigon is still kind of working as normal despite this, determined insurgency in the populated area of Saigon. But I think if we can hang on for a couple more seasons in Saigon, we're going to be okay. We do have a problem down to the south here a little bit, though, to the north, I guess. Bien Hoa has seen their brigade move in, so we're going to have to handle that. I think because of what's happened in the central part of South Vietnam, we're probably going to have to let our police force handle it for a few months until we can divert some troops there, because we do have some problems in the central part of the country. Cam Ranh has got a major insurgency. It's going to take everything we can do to bring some troops over to kind of stop this, which makes me think we're going to have to just ignore Bien Hoa for just perhaps 1 season. It should be able to sustain it, and then we can bring in reinforcements up there to take care of it. Fortunately, the units here in Quy Nhon still kind of hanging up here, and then like Quang Ngai, we were fortunate. We took out 1 political cadre, which is actually going to allow us to free up one of these brigades. To offset the political influence here, we needed a stronger South Vietnamese army presence. Otherwise, this would have spiraled out of control pretty quickly. But now that they're down to 4 political cadres, we can free up one of these brigades to go someplace else. And we're probably going to need them because we still are kind of short-handed in the north. So we're still kind of fighting these low-level insurgencies, which means we continuously need to divert troops up here. The up in Hue, we've been really lucky over the past years. Usually if there's 1 strength point, I mean, this is kind of getting into the nitty-gritty a little bit. If there's 1 strength point, they have to roll a 3, 4, 5, or 6 to do 1 strength point of damage to our units. Over the past, I think, 6 seasons, I think they've rolled a 1 or a 2 like 3 or 4 times. So they have not fought well, and that's enabled us to kind of hang on up here in Hue, which has been good. Quang Tri has reached almost its maximum of it's totally lost, but it's only got 1 more depleted North Vietnamese Army brigade to shift to Saigon. And all in all, the good news is that of the 25 potential North Vietnamese Army brigades in South Vietnam that could be here at one point in time, we've now taken out 13 of them. So they're down to 12. So if we can just hang on a little bit more, I mean, we might be okay. I'm starting to get cautiously optimistic we're going to make it. Because I think even if we lose a province, it's going to take a while for Saigon to fall. We have to have 1 more year. So fingers crossed. I think these next 2 seasons, 6 months are critical. Let's see how we do, and then we'll come back. January 1977. I think we may have done it. We've fought through the back half of 1976, brought in the political cadres, brought in the North Vietnamese Army brigades, but the simple fact of the matter is we've depleted the North Vietnamese Army to the degree that I just don't think they have enough capacity to overthrow us here in these last 6 months. Let's take a look at how the situation has morphed over the last half year, though. Again, you can see the aftermath here of the fighting. We've got so many. These orange capped units are our brigades that have been fully depleted, but we've had some more political influx here in Bien Hoa and then in the Mekong, but our police forces are strong enough. They can handle that. We've got 2 new North Vietnamese Army brigades, 1 up here in Mekong, 1 here, but they only had 3 new brigades come in this year, so we're going to be able to handle those. We were able to hold off the fighting here in Saigon. We had we're beaten down because we can't replenish that fast, but pretty much what I've been trying to do is just get a unit to half strength and then throw it back into the battle as fast as we can. And we've been able to bend and not break, I think, so far. Let's take a look at the central part of the country. We were able to take care of the incursion into Cam Ranh. Another unit has dropped down now, so we'll have to try to take that on. But we have the capacity to handle this. We've got enough military strength in and around Bien Hoa, Cam Ranh to be able to take that, as well as this other one that's come down in here into Quy Nhon. So we're going to be stable here. in Quang Ngai, we're doing okay, I think. This is a little precarious, these four central provinces here, but the thing is, even if one of them falls at this point, they don't have the strength in 2 seasons to be able to topple Saigon. So for kind of the sake of pride, I don't want to lose one of these provinces, but even if we lose it, our victory condition is that Saigon doesn't fall, and there just isn't enough time for them to take these provinces and then take Saigon before the middle of 1977, when the war would officially end. So let's take a look though at the north. So all of the brigades that were up in Quang Tri have moved to Saigon. So we've got no more incursions into Saigon. It's stabilized there. Hue is precarious. We had brigades drop down from the remote lands, and it was a big battle here in Hue. We've got no strength left, and we weren't able to take them all out. But I think we're going to be able to fly in our special forces and bring up this brigade here from Da Nang to take care of this. And then somehow even if we don't get everything in Da Nang by moving this over, we should be able to get it on the next turn. So it's still kind of balancing and still on our back heels up here in the north. But I'm hoping that we don't lose any more provinces here in the last 6 months, just as kind of a matter of pride. So we'll fight the last 6 months here, and then we'll take a look and see how things look. July 1977, the Vietnam conflict, the Vietnam War has ended. North Vietnamese forces have surrendered on this day, and the war is over. We did it. It was on a knife edge, I think, those last 3 years. And I'll offer some thoughts. We'll take a look at the last situation. I'll offer some quick thoughts. I'm going to come back for like a full game review in about a week or so. But let's take a look at the final picture here at the point of North Vietnamese surrender. The last action of the North Vietnamese, we did have a North Vietnamese brigade that moved down from Mekong into this populated area. I will call attention, I mean, we have the vast majority of our South Vietnamese forces have been hit and depleted and damaged. And some of them are because we had the police capacity, especially in this last year or so, to build units, but the constructed brigades come in at fully depleted, and then you have to replenish them. But we never really had the capacity to replenish those units because we were always just kind of recovering already units that had been wounded and knocked out of action, kind of thing. So it does look a little bit worse than it was, but we really did take a beating over this past 2 years trying to hold off the North Vietnamese forces. That spring offensive was just brutal. But we did have good luck in Saigon here against the political cadres. We rolled Snake Eyes, which took out 2 of them, and then the season before that we got another one. So it's actually relatively mild here as the war ends. Saigon, no North Vietnamese forces, political cadres down to not much, and our police force is very strong with a lot of military strength and presence in the area. We should be able to handle this relatively no problem in the next season. Were the battle to continue, but again, North Vietnam has surrendered. We have saved South Vietnam. Bien Hoa, again, stable. We do have this brigade hanging out in the remote lands, but that's been, and these 3 provinces, I think getting these with the police forces strong were a big help. Let's take a look at the middle too. We had most all of the forces that were up here on these remote lands eventually did drop down, but we were able to fight them off and hold on. Again, we can see, if I show down here, we can see just the extent of our casualties. And of course, Quy Nhon is where all of our casualties flow in from the north. So we have to bring them down here to replenish them and then send back up. And that strategy of just getting a unit to half strength and then sending it right back out into battle to maximize our combat strength, that really that worked pretty well. I think had we tried to bring them back up to full strength, it would have been really hard. The other thing, I think, just thinking about strategy in the game, if we hadn't had a police force in Quy Nhon, we would have lost the game. There's no way over the last third of the game, the South Vietnamese army would have been able to withstand those casualties. So getting at least this province feels essential to victory. Had we gotten Quang Ngai, I think our path forward to victory would have been substantially easier. Like when I play again, I want to make it kind of critical. A big point of emphasis is to try to get a police force in Quang Ngai, because that would have made holding the north much easier. It was really a struggle. And here we can see still kind of that simpering kind of insurgency here. We still have some North Vietnamese Army brigades that could potentially drop down. This northern part of the country, once the U.S. forces left, just never really kind of approached any kind of relaxed stability. I always felt like we were hanging on in at least 2 of these provinces. And had one of those provinces fallen, in addition to Quang Tri, I think this could have been a completely different outcome. We got, we were right on the edge, I think, of balancing between victory and defeat. And I think if we had had this province with a police force, it might have been an easier path. If we hadn't had this province, it would have been impossible. So this feels like that pivotal area that as you're seeing the U.S. forces withdraw, you really want to try to get police forces in these 2 places, at least in this one. Otherwise, it's going to be a real tough slog going forward. The North, again, just kind of what it was, pretty strong insurgencies up here. We've been able, again, it's a long hike from the central part of South Vietnam to get up here, but we've been able to hang on. Those special forces, those airborne and marine units from the South Vietnamese forces, those are super helpful for here because you can pull them out at the end of one year and fly them back in. And so many times, I think 2 or 3 times we brought them up here to northern provinces, and they were the difference in allowing us to hang on to these provinces. So that optional rule with those forces, you pay for it earlier because you get more North Vietnamese Army brigades against you. So there's a balance mechanism to it. But having them in the back third of the war was so helpful because you could fly them out right at the end of the year, replenish them, and bring them back. and it's so nice to be able to take units from Saigon or Mekong and just drop them in Hue or Da Nang to make a difference there. Quang Tri, again, the only province that we lost, still kind of, I imagine in the peace treaty, North Vietnam will cede this back to South Vietnam. But we have established South Vietnam and saved the country. Let's take a final look at the whole picture. So there we have it. Quite a fun adventure this was. Let me know what your thoughts are down below. I'm kind of exhausted after getting to the end here because I really didn't know how these last 2.5 years were going to turn out. So I'm really glad that we made it through. I mean, it was just such a joy to play this game, and I highly recommend it. I'll come back with the full review in about a week or so, but I had a great time. This is really challenging, and I think it's got a really nice balance of difficulty, and it's not too hard, and you're going to learn things each time you play, I think, and yet it's not too easy. And I think in a number of places, had the rolls gone a little bit differently, there were a few places where I think we got pretty fortunate with our rolls. Over the last 1.5 years, especially up in Hue, and then sometimes in Da Nang, we got some very timely 1s and 2s rolled by the North Vietnamese that we really needed a good result, and they helped a lot. So it wouldn't have taken much in certain places or certain times during the war for things to tilt a little bit against us. And conversely, we did have some bad rolls over the course of 50 seasons with hundreds of dice rolls. We had some stretches where we just couldn't take out a political cadre to save our lives. I mean, odds were we should have done it, and that created a lot of pressure. So I don't think on the whole, I don't think we were probably lucky or unlucky. I think over that many rolls, it probably balances out pretty good. But I do feel like there were a couple times where like, ooh, it'd be really nice to get a good roll here, and we did get them. And yet, I know there were a couple times where it's like, really? It's like, how did that happen when we got some pretty unfortunate rolls too? But what a fun game. It was a great challenge. Thanks so much for watching. If you have ideas, thoughts, comments, let me know down in the down below, of course. And then I'll be back again in about a week or so with the full review. But thanks for watching Save South Vietnam. I hope you've enjoyed the series. Bye, everybody.